Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue. And with me today is James Cole, the Supergirl of Red. I don't know, we'll discuss later. And with me also is my boy, the Superboy himself, Solomon. What's up, Solomon?
Doing good.
Doing good. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think the screen is covering me.
yeah, I'm gonna fix it, bud. No problem.
I'm right here, and I'm standing, but I'm still standing. Yes.
I know. Hold on. I forgot to throw it off there, just so yeah, people can see you. But hey, what's up, James?
What's going on? How's it going?
It's going good. We're just chilling. We have a little bit of news to talk about today.
Not a lot.
Not a whole lot, but a little bit. First of all, can we get a hell yeah? Because Kite Man is on Max, and
Hell
if you if you liked Harley Quinn, you'll probably dig Kite Man. I watched the first 2 episodes, and they were fun. They were in that same flavor vein. So
Absolutely. It's interesting to have so many different actors portraying parts that were in Harley Quinn. But, I mean, who knows? They never probably expected them to be too many recurring.
yeah, like with the Lex Luthor, listening to it, knowing that it's Lance, his last performance.
Lance Reddick as Lex Luthor. Somebody else is playing the Queen of Fables, and somebody else is playing Darkseid.
Yeah, isn't it Keith David now is Darkseid?
Keith David is Darkseid, yeah.
Good old Goliath the Gargoyle.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So-
he's fantastic. So it's nice, but it's interesting. I said who was Darkseid before.
Now, this is DC related, but currently, if you are into burgers and fries, boom, Big K Kids meals, everybody. The kids and I, so we went to Burger King and we each got a kids meal, okay? And the lady, I asked her what the different toys were, and it was Batman, but she went in the back and without asking, okay, we just said we were trying to collect them. She gave Solomon Batman, me Superman, and Sailor the Flash.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. And I was like, holy crap.
Perfect lineup.
So then, like, what, 2 days later, it was yesterday, me and Solomon were out, and I was like, all right, Janine, we're going back to Burger King. She's like, what? Why? I'm like, we're collecting all of these. And the lady, same lady, we knew they had Wonder Woman, so she gave us Wonder Woman, but then she saw what else they had, and they had Green Lantern and Harley Quinn, and she put Harley and Green Lantern in my bag. So the only ones now we have to find is Joker and Supergirl.
We're gonna hit up to the coffee.
There's 2 Burger Kings that are like our little town lives between 2 larger towns. So the one that I work in has 2 Burger Kings. So I'm gonna try to hit those up this week and see if we can get the last 2.
Yeah.
But
Excellent.
yeah, they're nice little fun figures kind of here on my shelf. So
Right.
if anyone's a fan of Burger King, that's an option.
Get yourself a couple of cheap kids meals.
Yeah.
It was actually Michael Ironside who played Darkseid in the Harley Quinn show. So just for the fact that they got Keith David for Darkseid and Kite Man, I mean, both phenomenal actors. I don't begrudge anybody being,
but I mean,
both perfect as well for Darkseid.
Both previously in other DC properties.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Ironside played Sam Lane in Smallville. Then he played Captain Cold's dad. I can't remember. And then Keith David was Mr. Bones in Stargirl.
But Michael Ironside was Darkseid in Superman the Animated Series and Justice League.
Yes, he was. So, all right, next thing. We got this poster. The final season, October 17th, Superman and Lois. And they teased us a trailer. The trailer was 17 seconds, telling us the full trailer basically will be at Comic-Con.
Yes, sir.
And that's exciting. So that'll give us something to talk about after next week, the full trailer. And they're going to do a big Hall H panel. So that's cool, representing some Superman here. But here's my question, James, to you and to you, Solomon. Are you comfortable with another Death of Superman story? And I come at it from 2 points. One, I don't really want another Death of Superman, but, okay, I feel like if we are going to do Death of Superman, Superman and Lois is this place to tell that story, because I feel like they've cultivated it over 3 seasons. They have the landscape of a show to tell it, and we actually have bought into this family, into this Superman, and could actually do it justice. But yeah, what are your feelings, Solomon? Real quick,
Okay.
Death of Superman.
James, you go ahead.
All right.
All right. I mean, Superman and Lois has really brought on some iconic characters as well as new characters, but very interesting takes on some big characters and some big stories from the comics over the years, in very different ways, very original takes. I am looking forward to seeing what they do with this. I don't expect him to be gone for too long. I'm very interested in how they do the death and return of Superman. That is what actually makes me curious, to see it full circle as the story comes out, because they're not going to do the death of Superman and he's going to not be around for the final season. It's just, that wouldn't make any kind of sense, you know.
I've heard some people say the thought is like a lot of his scenes are going to be like flashbacks
No.
until like mid-season, and then he'll return.
If they do it more than a couple of episodes, I'll be surprised, just because of the way of the story of this show. They don't drag things out that far. If he's down for, if he's down until the 3rd episode and they bring him back by then, I'd be surprised if he was down that long to have John be or Jordan be like a Superboy.
I'm curious. I mean,
analog. I don't see like the full reign of the Superman kind of thing going on. I mean, we got a Superboy and a Steel, but
yeah, I mean, and I was hoping that we get Steel in a new suit, or at least with the cape and the symbol on his suit. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah, Solomon, you go, buddy.
Okay. I have an awesome idea. They've never done this. What if Superman dies,
Okay.
but stays dies?
Okay.
And we have Superboy basically become the new Superman, but starting a whole new generation, basically Steel on his side.
I mean, in all reality, if there's ways
That
to
could
do
work.
that story in the context of this show, like you could have Clark as almost this guiding thing with Jordan, like I said, flashbacks.
Yes.
I'm curious where it's going to go. And I mean, we said this before, I think last year, about the idea of like, if you ever did the Death of Superman story, doing it on this show would be the best place for it, just because you have the landscape to do it.
Well, they've cultivated strong character relationships in this show. They've dealt with some very tough stuff throughout the run of this show. So, I mean, the death of Superman and him coming back, I mean, they're going to Metropolis. Is John Henry Irons going to start Steelworks? Like, what are we looking at coming up in season 4? It'll be really interesting to see, some modern stories be connected in a way with that older story of the death of Superman.
Yeah, I'm in. So One little news nugget that I forgot to put up here that I had saved here. James Gunn has said that Peacemaker season 2 will follow the events from Superman. So, and I know they're filming Peacemaker season 2 now, and there's been like an image come, like it's not him in the suit for Peacemaker, but it shows him wearing long sleeves and the dove is now up instead of down like it was. So we'll see if that's like his costume change for the new season. But it's just
Maybe
interesting
flashback.
how that's gonna play into things.
Or maybe it's a flashback.
It could be. It could be. So yeah, that's just something quick I had saved. I always take screenshots of news clips and put them on my phone, and I always try to make sure I upload them. But sometimes, I miss things. That's why I was just double checking my phone here before we record. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay, the other big thing we have is DC Scott Snyder announced the All In initiative. Scott Snyder, and this is going to be the All In. And I recommend everyone, if they want a better explanation, to go check out. There's like a 10-minute video from Josh Williamson and Scott Snyder on DC's YouTube. You can find it quite easy. So I recommend everybody go check that out just to kind of hear it from the horse's mouth itself, so to speak. But yeah, so they're doing this. They're launching this new All-In initiative. It's in October, and it's going to be this big thing. And you know what? I'm always excited because I'm glad to see Scott Snyder back at DC.
I'm kind of excited too.
Solomon watched it with me, watched the announcement with me, and he was like, "Oh, that sounds cool."
It sounds interesting, but yeah, I'm excited.
What I find interesting is the big thing is they're talking about the All-In initiative, right? And about what an initiative is. And I'm kind of like, they're doing this, but isn't that kind of what they just did with Dawn of the DC? Was try to make this new initiative of a point to jump in, and in that thing Scott talks about, like, this will be your chance to start reading and to jump in with all new books, starting new story arcs. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I'm glad, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna be, but it's just like, wasn't that kind of what Dawn of DC was supposed to be? Was an initiative?
It kind of was, Dawn of DC when it came out, it like you said, it was initiative. It was everything was starting up, starting new story arcs. There was a lot of number ones, things like that, and a lot of the stories were going to be tied together, which is something we did enjoy. At least I know I did. Being able to read all the books that came out that week on the app and kind of see where they are correlating to each other, but that seemed to like separate, or that timeline seemed to really fracture, and different books were at different times as they normally do. Something that they did talk about with this All In is everything is going to be tied together, building together. So I mean, it's really interesting when you get that, to be able to read all those books across the board and see how they fit together. But as the stories continue to grow, I mean, how long is that going to last?
Yeah, it'll probably last till maybe the end of the year if it starts in October. October, November, December.
Or how far do they have it planned out? Or what they were going to do with 5G a number of years ago, and they kind of turned that into like the Dawn of DC
And the
a little
future's
bit,
in.
but not. Yeah, but how far do they have it planned out, and is it able to maintain that type of storytelling?
So
Because I'm all in for that stuff.
and then the other big thing is, and I'll let, like, when we read this book and it kind of starts the thing, is they are doing a separate new universe, which is interesting because it's going to branch out and tell the absolute stories, which I guess the best way to kind of compare it to is like we talked about for like Marvel's Ultimates, like this Ultimate line, but we're gonna get this is the new Absolute Superman. It's right, the Absolute. That's what they're calling it, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, absolute.
And
It's right after absolute power.
I'm not like they talked about how this world is created. Like if the main DC continuity is created with Superman energy, this new Absolute universe is created with Dark Side energy. And I'm waiting to see this book. But in this picture I have right here is the Absolute Batman, and he's big, he's bulky, with just almost a giant black square on his chest. Like
That's hilarious.
it is like the most hideous looking uh symbol ever. So that's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah.
But we'll this Absolute Superman images look cool. Like this looks interesting, and we'll just wait. When it comes out. Like I'm interested. And I didn't have any reference points, but just talking about books coming out is this fall in October. We're gonna get like that next long Halloween chapter, and I'm looking forward to that too because it's from Jeff Loeb. But yeah, we'll read along these Absolute stories, and I hope that maybe it'll be like I feel like DC needs kind of its own like a ultimate type universe where people can jump in and read and everything is new and it's separate from continuity.
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorite things to do, and I probably spoke about this in the past, is one of my favorite things to do is read Elseworld stories. You know,
Yeah.
and different, like, not necessary, like, yeah, like different universe stories. Like in the New 52, I really enjoyed reading Earth 2 because it was different. There was a lot
Mhm.
the same, but there was different Elseworld stories. They're self-contained stories, and you can read them. You can jump in and get you interested in some characters to branch out and take a look. Elseworld stories are easy jumping on points because there's only a
Mhm.
finite amount of canon in those types of books. So when they do different things, like they're going into the Gotham by Gaslight, Kryptonian Age book that we're gonna check out after 6 issues have come out. The
Yep.
Dark Knights of Steel book, um, more Viking type stories in that one. Um, I'm very much looking forward to that book from Tom Taylor.
Yep.
So,
And
like,
Tom
yeah,
Taylor's taking over Detective. He's going to take over Detective.
yes, he has.
And
I have to jump back in on Detective. It's been a little bit since I read
well,
Detective. I've been
I've
keeping
been
up on Chip Zdarsky's Batman, but
I have, but like I've done it kind of relentlessly because I just got so tired of the Zur&R stuff. Like I was just like it wasn't. I was like this. No, but we're
I love to see Zur&R in all of those different Batmans from all the different universes, though. Seeing like a Zur&R Keaton and a Zur&R West and a Zur&R animated series version and other comic book universe versions, those were pretty cool. There's some
and
interesting things.
we have Dan Mora is joining the Superman book. Okay, and we've loved Dan Mora's art, and this is kind of cool because it's Dan Mora Superman, but it's kind of the continuity Superman compared to how he draws it for World's Finest. Um, but we're gonna get a new Superwoman, and we see her here and what the story is. And you know what? The first thing that came to my mind was
What's that?
I thought about our episode that we did where we talked about how big the super family is and
Uh,
how we hit. And then I like thought about that where we did, we have Superman, then Superman John, Superboy, Kara as Supergirl or Superwoman, but I think it's Supergirl,
It's Supergirl.
technically.
Is
And then we have Power Girl, Paige.
yep.
Then we have Keenan, the Superman of China. And then we have the
Oso,
twins.
Osul, and Otho.
Okay. So, and now we're going to we have Superwoman kind of Lana Lang, who got her red energy power back. Okay. And then we're going to have a new Superwoman.
We
I'm
got
at 10.
Steel, and
And
then
then
Natasha.
then we have Steel and Natasha as adjacent super family, not in the same power set, but in the
Yeah.
family. So that's 12 people in the super family. And if we throw in Crypto,
That's
so
uh
I feel like Clark's trying to compete with Batman now of like who has the biggest family and sidekicks. And I'm just like, geez, another one? Come on. But hey, you know what? I'm in. So but that's all I have for news. And now one of the big reasons why Mr. Solomon here is My Adventures with Superman season 2 has concluded. And I'm gonna bust out because I took some notes, bro.
I bet you did. I only got to
Like,
watch both things once.
so we watched My Adventures with Superman this morning during breakfast, and usually I take my notes with it. But I was so enthralled in the episode that I just watched it. And then I went back later and watched it again and took notes while the kids were playing Roblox. So the episode is season 2, episode 10, My Adventures with Supergirl. And when the episode starts, it picks up kind of right where the last episode ended with Kara and Clark down on the ground. And then we get the title card, My Adventures with Superman, and it's silent and solid black. What'd you think about that?
I thought it was a very dramatic opening.
Homeboy, you are absolutely correct. I was like, oh, like right there, I was like, oh.
I'm like,
And we open in dire straits.
I'm like, we open like that. I'm like, this is gonna be intense.
I was like, is someone gonna die? I'm like, what's gonna happen?
Solomon we were all, I mean, I think the whole family is plugged in. Okay. We're all like, you can't really tell, like, if Selah's not here, but like me, Solomon, and Selah have all had on our Superman shirts today.
Excellent.
And we've had their Superman shirts on today and even Superman hats on. Like, we went for a walk outside. We all had our Superman hats on. And yeah, we've been rocking it today. So we get that. And then we have fighter pilots coming in to fight Brainiac's ship. And I'm pretty sure they were led by Henshaw.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was in one of those fighter jets.
Because we get a line a little bit later from Waller who says, Slade, Wilson, Henshaw, is anyone still engaging? And she gets no response. But
Here it is.
so I have the episode playing as we're recording here, just for reference for me and Solomon. But we have Waller basically say, like, I'm going to do what I do, protect Earth. And Luther runs away.
Yeah.
And the Metallos are fighting. I mean, not the Metallos.
So it's
yeah. That, the battle with Henshaw, I'm wondering if, something happened to him and he's gonna come back.
Oh, he is totally. That we'll get there. We will get there because we will talk about something at the end. What do you call it? We have, this Lex is not able to close down the Metallos. And it's very interesting because he just runs away and hides when faced with.
He go bald too.
Yeah, Solomon's mad. One of our predictions was he was supposed to go bald.
He needs to go bald.
But we have Steve's van, and we have
I don't think
Lois.
that's
And
going to happen until he's more of a primary antagonist in the show. You know, something happens to him, and he goes bald in that respect.
Boom! Here comes
so
Steel. Boom!
Steel shows back up, or Dr. Irons, saves the van that has Lombard in it. No wolf sound or Flamebird was not said in this episode. A little bummed.
I was gonna say, was that before or after they took Steve's van?
No, they're driving Steve's van. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they took Steve's van and they got stopped by the Metallo, and Steel showed up. And I don't know if it was just me or if I'm not remembering it right, but the Steel had the shield on the chest and on the shoulders. I don't quite remember if those were there before, but I was like, step in that direction, maybe.
I hope that they slim his suit down in season 3.
It looks a little smaller than it initially did.
Yeah. But Dr. Irons tells her that help is on the way to help Superman and Supergirl, and we see it's Livewire, Heatwave, Silver Banshee, and then the 2 other people that I can never remember their names.
Kyle and someone else.
They're the cavalry. The main man. I like that. The main man. And he goes, who? And who's the main man, James?
James.
The main man.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on what you're
It's
asking
Sam
me right now.
When they
Yeah, that's what you're. Allura distracted me. I'm sorry. And then you said the main man. I was like, Lobo didn't show up in this show.
I was like, that's why I was like, they said the main man, and then it cuts to Sam.
You had me lost for a second. Yeah. Showed up, rescued Waller, gave her one of those guns, and they kept shooting and destroying the Metallos with those Kryptonian guns.
I wonder something. Is Brainiac a boy? Or is he like none of them at all? That's what I wonder.
So we have them going to fight. We have the backup team going to stop the Metallos, while Superman and Kara are going straight to Brainiac himself. And we have that, since the suits are all possessed with kryptonite, the armor and tech that's Kryptonian is actually affected. So you have Heatwave, Silver Banshee, or Heatwave and Livewire, whose tech is Kryptonian based. It starts to get affected and gets that. What do you call it? Like the Kryptonian crystals and stuff on them,
Yeah. Yep. It just starts to become affected, starts to not work and everything.
And then they have, so Superman and Kara show up into Brainiac's room, and he basically says, Eradicator, override to Kara, and takes over her mind. And they start fighting. But what I find fascinating is when we find out that in the last days of Krypton, with the war, Jor-El was actually having peace talks, and that Brainiac was built for war. And when he found out there was going to be peace, he would learn that he was going to be shut down. And he's the one that eradicated and destroyed Krypton.
What's that red stuff?
And as he said it, he said he ripped Krypton from the heavens and sent it to hell.
Also, I like this Brainiac look.
And who were they? We never learned who they were at war with.
No, we don't. Because they were a warring empire for generations. So, who were they at war with that they were losing?
Exactly.
I kind of want to be this Brainiac for Halloween.
And Brainiac states that he still won because he had Kara. And Trying to look at everything here. So basically, what I love is, say let's set a timer on my watch. What the heck?
My theory is that Supergirl is 22 and Superman is 23. My theory.
This whole like scene where he's telling about how he destroyed Krypton, the vocal performance from Michael, I can't remember his last name, it's blanking, whose voice is Brainiac, is awesome. Like it's so creepy and eerie.
Definitely. Yeah, very very villainous. Revealing all the past his past discretions, capturing and keeping Kara, calling her weak and useless and brainwashing her over the years. It was pretty it was tragic to see, and then to see Jimmy, Lois, and Clark like breaking through to her, not Brainiac's control, and getting her to fight Brainiac's control and break free.
When he goes and he catches her punch, Clark does, and he turns it and he just hugs her and he holds her, and she's like, you see the struggle and hear her screaming, and we see, like you said, the flashbacks of Brainiac putting her down, and right before that, Clark had like the memories that his interactions with Kara, where he was like seeing her smile and happy, and like he's holding her, and then like you said, like she pushes him off, and then Jimmy holds her, and then Lois holds her, and like, we're not letting you go, and then Clark holds her again, and then she like breaks free and does like a super scream. It was, dude, I loved it. Like, just this episode had me teared up a couple times. Just
yeah. It's very anime, the way that these interactions have come, like saving each other. The interaction between Lois and Clark in the Black Mercy, and then them breaking free of the control, and then the way they talk to Kara, talk her out of it and through to break free. Very very anime trope, but so good. They done so well.
And this is one of my favorite scenes.
And yeah,
When
like the
he's a
scene.
kid and
Yep. So the scene where you see Clark as a kid flying over the farm, and he's like, "All right, Kara, let's bring you home."
Yeah. And what do we finally get to see in this episode as he's flying above the clouds, and as they try to take Brainiac out into outer space? What power do we finally get to see?
I don't know which one.
Realizing they're powered from the sun.
Oh yeah, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're jumping ahead, man. There's so much ground to cover here. Okay, because we got, like I said, I took some detailed notes on this sucker. It said after her super scream, you have probably one of my favorite scenes is Kara goes.
you're still ahead too, man.
I'm ahead of this, but not where we're talking. When she goes flying straight up at the ship, and it's just her, she goes to stop Brainiac. The theme song kicks in. You just hear it, dun 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 dun, as she flies up and she hits it to push it, and then Clark,
like right there.
Clark joins her, and they're pushing it into the sun, and that's when Brainiac, like, I got chills right then, dude. When the theme song kicked in and they're like together.
Me too.
That was very good.
I'm like, you might as well just put Godzilla right there.
But he says activate ship Black Zero protocol, and he pulls out kryptonite and basically makes the ship like into one giant kryptonite weapon. So
Yeah, as they
Um,
almost pushed the ship into the sun. That was really wild. It was so cool.
and then like Brainiac goes to fire his weapon, and Kara pushes Clark out of the way, and she gets hit, and she goes falling into the sun. And then he goes after her, and they're sitting there going down, and he's like, "I don't think we're going to escape the sun's gravitational pull." And that's when it happens, where they realize, "Wait a minute, we're Kryptonian.
All those
The
veins
sun,
that
yeah,
were kryptonite veins running through them is now glowing yellow, glowing gold from the sun.
Speaking, hold on.
hold on, what song?"
I'll tell you when we get there. I'll tell you guys when we get there.
Here's our part, because like I said, we have it playing. She's going theme song kicking in. Third time today, and still got the chills. It's just
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah, this show is dope.
Ooh. Yeah,
Um,
right there.
but then you have
Why lost Superboy come in?
You
and
have-
Godzilla.
you Solomon.
And
Calm down for
Sonic.
Godzilla, okay?
and Sonic. And then
Um,
another one of those.
But you have Superman and Kara come flying out of the sun together, and she like changes her biosuit to match Superman's, and she officially kind of embraces, the same look that he has, and they like, and you
Well,
still have Brainiac
well,
saying
that's
like,
awesome.
"Kara, comply, Kara, comply," and you see that electric energy of Superman from his eyes, and it's blue, and then you see it from Kara's, and it's red. And you see
Yeah.
them kind of do this spin swirl of blue and red energy, and they fly through the ship and rip it in half. And she holds Brainiac's like core in her hand,
Yeah.
and we just see it go dead.
And
Yeah.
we also,
I was like, oh man, they're doing the blue and red.
and we also see Brainiac have like a kryptonite scythe there. Yeah, look, he actually is kryptonite. You guys forgot about
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he-
synthesized kryptonite and he tried to use it as a weapon to try and kill Kara.
And at Roblox, I remember we were playing like this Save One song game, and it said like random weapons, and Dad got like the same scythe. It was there just destroying people. It was
Yep.
hilarious. I remember that part of those.
And so
Oh,
after they destroy the Brainiac ship, like he's holding Kara, and you see people are cheering, and she's like, "They're cheering for you, Kal-El," and he says, "No, they're cheering for us." And she's like, "I've never saved a world before." And then she wakes up where, James? Where does Kara wake up?
Smallville.
And she wakes up in Smallville in the farm,
Yep.
and she goes,
Kent farmhouse.
and I love it because she goes downstairs, and Jimmy's asleep on the couch drooling, and he has a basket that's like, "Welcome to Earth, Kara."
Mm-hmm.
And then Clark enters with Ma and Pa, and I was so happy because I was a little bummed that we hadn't seen Ma and Pa yet this season. And I was
Yeah,
like,
they were really good last season.
I mean, this season was great. There was no great like, "Can you please pass the yams" moment, but it was still awesome.
I don't.
It was great to see him again, and they just felt like mom and dad.
I don't
You
know.
know.
I don't know what season better, the first one or second one. I don't know.
They're both good, but you have to have the first one to enjoy the second one.
Mhm.
But I love when she's like, "Are you hungry? There's pie in the fridge. You want some pie?" And he's like, "We're going outside to play a game."
Oh,
Grab that, Solomon.
I have.
And he teaches Kara how to play catch. And she's like, "I will win." He's like, you don't win at catch." And her line, then you're playing it wrong." It's
Right.
like, it's like, don't hold back. It was really great. And then like what happens, we saw that the Kent farm is 198 miles from Metropolis. And I was like, okay.
That's very much Smallville-esque.
Yeah. And we have the Kent family barbecue where like everybody was there. Like all the reporters, Perry White, like every character in the series was at that barbecue except Slade Wilson and Lex Luthor,
And Amanda Waller. We
who
got
is
the
who is
yeah,
missing.
we got the news like Amanda Waller wanted and missing.
Mm-hmm. And we see Luthor and Slade are paired up now.
Outside of LexCorp.
We have a really great speech from all the characters at the end over the credits that everyone should just watch and listen to. It was really, really good. So, but we do get at the end we see that Clark had done some research for Gotham because of the Vicky Vale job, and Lois basically tells him she turned it down because she doesn't want to be the next Vicky Vale. She wants to be the first Lois Lane. And it's cute because he's like, it's only a 5-minute flight for me from Metropolis to Gotham, depending on where you live, but I can get there. And if you ever need me, just say my name. And then Lois and Jimmy show up with some soup on the roof. And we hear that there's a fire at Perez Plaza. And they're ready to go off. And they're like, no. This is a news story too. We're going with you. They all fly off together.
Yep.
And that's how season 2 ends.
Yes, sir. It's great. Fantastic show. And I love how the seasons are ending on like a positive note. It's not some like dour cliffhanger, to wait for the next season to come out, which
Right.
season 3 is officially in production.
James, stop jumping ahead. We got this announcement. My Adventures with Superman season 3 in production. I figure we probably won't see it till 2026.
Oh yeah. I mean, if
And
it
I'm
comes
hoping
out
that
next year, but
I'm hoping they'll do either 20 episodes and just combine seasons 3 and 4 into like one or something, or I'm hoping something like that.
well, I mean, produce them 2 at a time. Produce 20 episodes, give us
Yeah.
season 3, and then continue working to finish season 4. And then
Because this show, I cannot stress how much I've loved and enjoyed this show, and how, in all honesty, in a lot of ways, this is my children's Superman. Because like it's the one that they're connecting with, that they're enjoying. It's for them,
oh yeah.
Um,
Jeremiah is going to freak out when he comes home tomorrow because he's going to want to watch the new episode of My Adventures with Superman.
Like I loved going to see Super Pets with them, and Superman being there on the big screen. And then the only other big screen Superman was, of course, the Henry Cavill and Black Adam. So like, I'm so excited for next year. But like the kids love this. This is our, Sunday morning routine has been watch My Adventures. And we do get a clip. I meant to mention this, is like Vicky Vale kind of is the one that names Lois. Names Kara Supergirl. She has the paper where she scooped what's his face?
Scoop Perry White in the
Perry,
Daily Planet, yeah. With the interview with Supergirl.
Yeah. So I cannot stress how much I've loved this. And Solomon and I were talking today that they need to do a McFarlane run, and it needs to be a 4-figure with a build-a-figure line. It needs to be Superman, Supergirl, Jimmy, and Lois, with the build-a-figure being Brainiac.
That would be awesome.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Like I want to give, like, Superman has the head of Brainiac. Maybe Clark too.
I would say like do
like
the
a
head,
body for
then-
Clark,
then
and
like
then
that would be cool.
Kara has an arm. Lois has an arm. and then maybe we have
Yeah, the legs.
we could have like the legs.
I just would really like to
be
have a
with
Clark
one
figure.
Kara and
You know that, like,
and then we have like Supergirl too.
Right? Is it going to be the old suit or the new suit?
probably if they did, it'd be the new suit. Because if we're including Kara, it'd probably be the new suit as well that we get to see.
Or
Like
would
the
Kara
two.
be the black suit?
See, that could be an alternate like thing they do, you know. But I like them in the matching suits together.
Except for
So,
those darn shoulder pads.
yeah. It's weird.
It
that-
just makes it look. It just makes it look a little weird.
But
Otherwise, the rest of the suit's pretty great.
so we know.
Supergirl's
Okay.
got this like her cape goes all the way around, almost like it would be like a big cloak thing. Like she could throw up a hood over it.
See, I think that would be cool. Like, because we'll talk a bit more about that when we get into some comic stuff, here soon. But I like her suit, but I like her suit being a little bit different than Superman's. You know, like, to me, it needs to be slightly different, but yet still somehow the same. Like you can tell they're of the part. Like she went with, the pants and everything just like him, which works.
Yeah,
But I
her
like
boots
them.
were different, and then she had that cape with where it looked like almost a big scarf going around her neck,
And which
or
I liked.
something, you know.
Which I liked. Let's see. Do I have that?
Yeah. Otherwise, they were pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, there is some slight variation, but okay. We've already talked about season 3's in production. So, what do we want to see in season 3? Solomon, you go first, bro.
Thank you. Lex wants to go bold.
All right, we went bald Lex Luthor.
Well, we're gonna.
Also, maybe we get like the leader Metallo, the Metallo himself.
I think you're not off on there being more of a John Corbin Metallo. Okay, there we go, real quick. There's the picture of the two suits of Superman and Kara together. Yeah, the way it is around her knees is different. She has more of a boot.
Yeah, around the ankles, her belt is different. Her S does not have the yellow outline.
Yeah, it's slight enough that it's different, but yet, like on her arms is higher up the two-tone color than his. It's more like just a shade, like a forearm. Hers is like the whole arm. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, they're really cool looking suits.
I think next season 3, Luther's more of our main protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean antagonist. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think there should be somewhat of a time jump between the season 2 and season 3, because season 2 did kind of end with it felt like if this was the end of the show, we ended on a good spot. We kind of wrapped up everything, all of our kind of story arcs, major story points, for what was going on.
Right.
But I think villain wise, Cyborg Superman. I think kind of some sort of Cyborg Superman, or because the way this show has done things, maybe they do a Cyborg Superman / Metallo with him.
So that was kind of my thinking here. Like we got LexCorp. LexCorp's probably going to be, the head of kind of these defense technologies or whatever. Making the Metallos, trying to make it so the Metallo can't be hacked like it was. Maybe having a person being the Metallo, the pilot kind of thing, being Henshaw instead of John Corbin. He's already a military person. He already hates Superman. If he went down fighting against one of Superman's villains, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Making him, a Metallo, a / cyborg Superman in a way. Something like that.
I don't know. I don't really want Darkseid to come into this.
Ooh, I have an idea for Dark Side.
I kind of like the idea of Darkseid not being a part of this show. Because I liked kind of the vein that it's in right now. I think Toyman would be an interesting, like 1 or 2 episode type villain. Having we just watched the Toyman episode of Superman the Animated Series, I think Toyman is definitely could be up there. But I was trying to think of what other major Superman villains could really come into play in season 3.
Maybe Bizarro.
If you did
Well,
Bizarro, it'd be like how you would do it.
right. They've been doing mostly clone stuff, probably less genetic wise, you know. Bizarro
Mhm.
would be a little different. It would be a, you know, a possible route to make things different. Um, you know, what about whoever the race was that was warring against the Kryptonians finds out that there's a couple Kryptonians on Earth. Um,
Right.
who are they fighting and who could be a villain from that race kind of a thing, you know?
I would kind of like to do. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I'm blanking. Sorry, everybody. But the race that was in the Superman Earth 1 book that came to Earth just to destroy Earth, and then of course Superman was there, and that's because that would be something different. Um, for the show to pick something different. But yeah, what are your thoughts, listeners? Like, who are some villains and ideas for the next season? Solomon said Zod, and I said, you know what? I feel like we've already kind of covered that territory with Kara. Like the arc and the idea of what Zod could be. I feel like with Brainiac and Kara, we've already kind of done that.
Yeah, the last 2 years have really been all about like the threat of like the alien invasion, the threat of the Kryptonian invasion, kind of kind of peaking that with the Brainiac invasion, as it were, in Metropolis,
Yeah.
kind of maybe spells the end of some storyline very similar to it.
So, well, we'll be brainstorming. We'll think. Trying to keep open minds about what this show is doing and done, and what I'd like to see and what I'd not like to see. I'd like to see maybe some things that we don't expect. I think that's the thing is they've been able to kind of remix elements the way they've done kind of.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How about Parasite?
Well, they did Parasite. They kind of did Ivo as Parasite.
Oh, they did. My bad. I forgot.
It's okay. That's why I said like
I forgot.
they've thrown us for a loop with the way they've done some of these, so they've been able to find a different way.
Changed and amalgamized some characters.
How about Lobo?
Now, if Lobo would be interesting. They want to go that route. But speaking of stories concluding, we have something else to talk about. Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 3. I find it fitting that we talk about this on today's episode, as both of these feature Supergirl in a very prominent role. So Crisis just released so when this episode drops, it will have released last week on Tuesday. And let me go to my extremely long notes on Crisis on Infinite Earths. So because I took long notes here. So I will say that Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3 is the conclusion of the Crisis trilogy. I remember last time we went to review Part 2, and I read the synopsis, and it was actually the cut and paste of the first one. So our heroes are still fighting the Anti-Monitor, which had come to creation at the end of 2. Now, before we get into it, James, how did you just feel overall, non-spoiler review of Crisis 3?
I think after part 2, which was kind of in a little bit of a lull, I feel that we overall thought part 2 was a little not as good as part 1. So part 3 was actually a step back up in my opinion. Part 3 was really good. There was a lot of nostalgia there, in a lot of ways. There was a lot of seeds that were planted that paid off throughout the story. The story was told very well. Um, we didn't get stuck watching flashbacks this one. Um, there was not really any of the jumping back and forth in time to reveal the story. Uh, it was a very good. I believe it was a satisfying conclusion. I felt that way at the very end. I was like, that was good. I like that. You know, so
Okay,
as little spoilery as I can be right there.
Solomon, without giving any spoilers, having you watched all 3 versions with me, what are your thoughts and feelings just towards part 3?
It was epic.
Hmm.
I mean,
Like, it was epic. Explosion, glasses. But yeah. I still think part 2 was a little bit better. Honestly, I think part 2 is my favorite.
really?
Yeah,
This boy always hits us with the truth.
and I like dinosaur. I like the dinosaur thing they put in there.
Whoa, that's spoiler, man.
Oh, okay. But
I will say, for watching this and being as heavy it is with the pseudoscience, he followed along really well. He understood most of what was going on. A few things he asked for some clarity, but he was following along very well. I will say that this is probably the best of the 3. I think it is. And one of the biggest reasons why is, like James was saying, this part didn't use the other 2 versions use like half the film to tell us like backstory about story and movies that we should have already had. The first being like the Flash and how it really connected all the previous films together with scenes that we had not seen before. The second film told us about where Kara's whole journey was before coming to join, and then the Legion and everything. And this one was just a straight story. And I think that really helped this film. So we're going to get into it. So, if you haven't seen it yet, stop the podcast here. Leave us feedback, kryptonreport.com. Find us on all major platforms. We're going to jump into and really discuss this film. And I know that the one thing about these movies is I feel like with the reviews, I don't know if we'll shift it later on down the road, but we don't know if this is the end. We'll talk about that. Is a lot of people aren't watching these until they hit Max, and they're not hitting Max till like a month or 2 after their release. Well, we know that part 2 was released shortly before part 3 on Max, like a week or 2 ago. So we'll see, because I feel like a lot of people aren't watching these like they were, getting them when they come out, being the the new hot thing to talk about. The enthusiasm for the DC animated films have not, since I think the Tomorrowverse started, they really have not been what they were. So, and I guess we can talk about real quick now with the way James Gunn is changing DC and everything. We know that we're getting the Aztec Batman, the 2-part Watchmen, and the Ninja Batman Yakuza thing. But other than that, we don't know if we're going to continue to get this animated films like we were. This maybe after these announcements, that might be it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, don't know what's coming down the line. I mean, the Tomorrowverse has been a very layered in storytelling, a lot of things have happened off screen. So I mean, that probably that probably, I'm sure, has had an effect on their anticipation coming up. Uh, so I don't know, just I would love to see it continue. I've gotten like almost everything as it's come out. Uh, but also, like you said, it's kind of like into a prime. Is it going to be? Are they doing this so that way, like James Gunn's DC incorporates the animated films into the overall DC universe? I mean,
And that's what I'm wondering when like Watchmen or anything starts to come out now, if it's going to be labeled with the Elseworlds labels
mm,
or something. Because like I said, we only have the 4 that I know of: the Yakuza one, Batman Ninja, which we know is not part of. It's on its own thing.
yeah,
The Aztec Batman, which is on its own thing, and then the 2 Watchmen's. So that's nothing that's kind of tied into anything else.
yeah, certainly not tied into where we would go from the end of this film.
But we have Creatures Commandos coming in December, and we know that Kite Man's coming out right now, and Harley Quinn's supposed to come out before year's end. So I feel like they're trying to get all the, not all the stuff, because even with like Watchmen Part 2, like, we're in July right now, and usually they would tell us like at Comic-Con, which is coming up, they would announce what's coming on down the line,
Yeah,
film
for like
wise.
the next year.
So I feel like we'll get our release dates, and maybe by year's end, we might have all those films I just named. Watchmen with as quickly as they released Crisis 1, 2, and 3, we might get Watchmen 1 the next month, Watchmen 2,
Well,
and
Watchmen
then
2 is not supposed to come out until the beginning of next year.
do we? Okay.
Yeah, it was 2024. It was August 2024, and then like beginning 2025, like January 2025
All right. Well, okay.
for Watchmen Part 1 and Part 2.
Which I think
I
that's
think for
kind of
Crisis, that's a gap. But for Crisis, like I feel like they needed to get them out, especially the way they were, the way they were made. If they would have spaced them out any farther, it'd have been like going 5 weeks without seeing episode 4 of your 5-part Crisis special.
Yeah, which was dumb, because when they did that, it killed the momentum that Crisis had built. And when they came back, I felt like it was awesome for us, but I feel like the overall excitement for it had just kind of,
Yeah.
it should have been 1 week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, here we go. Spoiler: Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 3.
Spoiler. Spoiler.
When we start, this film picks up right where the last one left off, with Kara kills the Monitor, and we see the Anti-Monitor standing over our heroes, and then the Monitor's power basically sends all the planets to limbo.
Yes. Takes
They call it the
Monitor.
bleed.
Yes.
But I thought limbo was just a much better way of
Limbo's a more understood term, but for most DC fans, if you say the bleed, a lot of them would know what you're talking about. So outside of the existing multiverse and space and time,
and so, and then we pick up back on our main Earth 1, and this is where so when the show started, we were eating dinner, and I was taking notes. So my notes are a little spratty, and then I get more detailed. But we have the dinosaurs show up and are just running through the streets.
I didn't understand this.
And I was trying to explain to Solomon how, the Earths are connected. We see the energy waves, and we have a group of grunts who are traveling, following these, these dinosaurs, trying to keep them in line. And who are these grunts, James?
they're the losers.
Yeah. He's like, we're the losers, man. But the best scene of that whole thing was Wonder Woman lassoing and riding a T-Rex.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole bit of sequence was really cool. You got to see lots of things going down. A Oliver Queen and Dinah interaction. You got to see old Superman and young Superman. Diana doing her thing was really cool. Black Canary, who is actually the daughter of Dinah Drake from Justice Society, from
Yeah.
Earth 2, from Justice Society, World War.
World World War II.
Was that what it was called? I
Yeah,
forget.
just
Okay.
say
Yeah. Um, you get to see the daughter there. You get to see at some point. You get to see a Jay Garrick and an Hour Man.
yeah, we do. We get the whole Justice Society pretty much later.
Yeah.
We get 2 versions of Dr. Midnight spread out.
Do we? I know I saw the one in the back
Yeah,
later on.
but we have Beth Chapel, the doctor that works with Bruce Wayne, and he's like, Dr. Midnight. And she's like, not right now.
Oh, okay. You know what? I think that's where I had to step out of the room for a second, and I missed that when Bruce woke up and the doctor was talking to him. So that was Beth Chapel, Dr. Midnight. That's why she
Yep.
said could see in the dark.
Yep.
Gotcha.
We have so Luther is on Earth 10 with Psycho Pirate. And that's kind of where the Legion of Doom is. Earth 2 has the Bat family, which is consistent of Batman Beyond, Robin, Huntress, and Batgirl. And they're fighting Nazis that have broken into Arkham and taken all the weapons of the villains. And we get Nazi Bane, basically. But what's interesting is we have one of them has releases Scarecrow's fear toxin on Bruce. And he goes into shock. And we see, Joker by Troy Baker from Long Halloween. We see the Scarecrow here, same look from the Long Halloween. And when Batman, this is where I got a little confused. Like, I was trying to tell Solomon, like, not confused, but just because we see Batman flashback to when he was on War World, and he sees the old man that appeared where it was actually the Flash, but he didn't know it was the Flash at the time. Then Solomon asked me, can I see War World? And I said, no, that movie sucked so bad. Like, the only thing you need to know about that movie is like the last 10 minutes.
I was gonna say I know it came out and it was rated R, right? But it was for hardly anything. Like,
it was just some of the graphicness, and I was like, this did not need to be rated R, and you wasted Mongol. And this is the worst of the Tomorrowverse films, period.
It was. It had some really cool beats, but as a whole, absolutely, yeah.
So the Tomorrowverse over?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we learn. So Batman gets taken. They call for medevac. That the bleed is buckling, and it's getting a riff on Earth 146, which is Aquaman's Earth. The Aquaman that we're interacting with the most, long-haired Aquaman.
Long hair with the harpoon arm.
And basically, I have a quote here from Jania. Okay. So Arthur says, send me home, as the Anti-Monitor is going to destroy and erase his home. And Mr. Terrific, basically like, okay. And Jania goes, why don't they just beam Arthur Jr. and Mira to them? Because the whole reason he's going back is to die with his wife and his son. And I was like, because that's not dramatic stakes.
I mean, it's valid, but how are they gonna feel when their entire kingdom and world is gone?
I mean, yeah, but fate of the world and all that, like, but it was just
fate of the universe.
Yeah. And then this is when Bruce wakes up, and it's Dr. Beth Chapel midnight. And he says, I need to see a doctor. And she's like, he's like, not that kind of doctor. And it's Dr. Fate. And I'm checking something right now. And hold on here. So I want to cross reference something. Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. I wanted to see if I thought about like in the future if we'd ever want to do like, you know, commentary on these, and I was just like, maybe not. I don't know. All right. Dr. Fate is voiced by Keith Ferguson.
I do a commentary on all that 4 shelves worth of DC animated features.
Oh no, we're gonna work through a bunch of them over the next.
Yeah.
But then we see that on Earth 18.
I want to rewatch them all in order right now.
On Earth 18, we got John Constantine in a saloon drinking, and I had to explain to my children what a spittoon was. They're like, what is that? And I was like, well, and Sailor looks at me and goes, do people still do that? I'm like, maybe, but not like,
not really.
Not really. Like, now people just chew tobacco and spit in a bottle or a can or the ground.
Just as gross.
Yeah.
But he was going to go after it. John Constantine was going to go after that nickel and that spittoon. Ooh,
he was at that rough point, man. He wanted his alcohol. And so John Stewart shows up. He's with them. It's John Stewart, Batman, you know, world's greatest detective. And he tells how he figured out where Constantine was and everything. But they kept saying, like, where's John Stewart's ring? Where's John Stewart's ring? Sailor kept asking. I was like, I don't remember what happened to his ring. And I'm like, Well, so then we see the Earth 2. This is when we get the Earth 2 Justice Society, where we see Canary as old Dinah, Jay, and Earth 2 gets destroyed. And we have Michael Holt basically deduced that somebody on the inside had to tell them, the Anti-Monitor, how to find them. And Lex admits that he used Psychopirate to find them, to reach out. And Lex said, we can't stop him until we need more data. And the only way to get more data is for him to show up.
Yeah.
And then the next section is like where they invade Constantine's mind and his memories to tap into him. And we get images from, what do you call it? From Apocalypse War.
Yes. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
And Solomon hasn't watched that one because I told him, I said, it's really dark and it's really dreary and it's actually very sad. But if you think about it, this all started with Flashpoint. So from Flashpoint Paradox to Crisis 3 are all connected.
Yeah.
And what we learn is a big retcon here. Because when we sit this flashback for Apocalypse War, we see our John Constantine from then, but the Flash that he's talking to is the Flash style of this universe. It's not the same Flash looking from the past universe. Because what we see is that not only did he tell Barry to go and make things different, that he actually attached a spell onto Barry. And this is what makes this different compared to when Barry just changed the timeline like he had before. And this is where it gets heavy.
Yeah.
So now he tells Barry something else in missions. He's not only going to back in time to start time over, much like how he did in Flashpoint, so that we would never experience the Apocalypse War. What we learn here is Darkseid is a pillar of the multiverse, and there must be a dark side. And that what John Constantine did was attach a killing spell that anywhere Barry ran, because we see parademons just falling and dying. And he runs back to the one point where infant Darkseid is what they call it, which technically should be Yuxis, is most vulnerable, and Barry kills Darkseid.
Yeah, without doing anything, just being there kills Darkseid.
And he doesn't realize what he's doing, and thus having the pillar of the universe, the multiverse, whatever, removing Darkseid from the equation so that we can never have Darkseid, that creates the multiverse. The idea of infinite possibilities, and for every choice there's another answer, and it keeps multiplying itself. The idea that there should have never been a multiverse ever is what's implanted here.
That's hard.
Right?
Crazy.
Yeah, that was hardcore, because it was only one Darkseid exists outside of space and time, and he is more or less there as a creature to keep the multiverse in check.
So this idea that Darkseid is this pillar that must be reinstated, basically. So then we find back to our main group of heroes, and they find out that the Anti-Monitor can be killed because he's basically made of the same shadow energy by the power of 52 suns. And the fact that every Earth that pops up is bringing its own sun, and they're all there together, but they're all vibrating at a different frequency. And they say, good thing we have someone who's like a solar battery who can hold all that energy. James, you and I have read a lot of comics. Even with Superman, I don't know if he could hold 52 suns worth of energy.
Right. Well, I mean, that being the reason why having that energy and expelling it all at one time would kill you.
Yeah, solar flare. But as I predicted, it doesn't play out that way. But there's a great line where Superman says, "One life to save an untold billions." I call that a bargain.
Yeah.
When they're like, "You can't do this," he's like, "Yeah, I can." But of course, it's Kara that goes into the sun because she's actually, being that she's Harbinger, she has more power.
Yeah.
And she can go faster. And then we see that she's going to the sun. We see Lex, his eyes go red, and he starts telling them to tear down the barriers. And we think it's the Anti-Monitor that has Lex, but oh no. Someone we forgot about. Who was it, Solomon? Green guy.
Oh.
Goes by the name of John Jones.
John Jones, Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah, so yeah.
And I totally forgot that he wasn't
Green
there.
guy.
And he shows up with the War World.
Yeah.
And they shoot at
at the Anti-Monitor.
Yeah. And we see Lobo again and Adam Strange. And we find that War World was Zeta beamed out of there. That's the explosion that we saw.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, geez. But then we get some other people that show up. That was really awesome to see. Was Aya and Razor as a Blue Lantern. So if you watched the Green Lantern animated series, Razor was a big part of that, and so was Aya. And Razor appeared on the 4th season of Young Justice.
And when he flew out into space, the Blue Lantern ring.
Yeah, in Young Justice, he was split. He had blue and red on.
Yeah. That's what happened. Yep. I was going to say, no, wait, he had both of them.
And this is where they show up with some other lanterns, which calls back to the Green Lantern film. And John gets his ring. And so all the lanterns together are trying to protect the next Earth from being destroyed by the Anti-Monitor. And we learn that War World is powered by feelings, emotional energy. And they use Psychopirate to connect everybody everywhere to help give Kara
the opening she needs in the Anti-Monitor's armor.
Yep. And she basically goes solar flare inside of him and boom. But what we see is while that's going on, I do have a note here that says, I got thinking about there was no multiverse in the old continuity. I don't ever remember them touching that.
No.
But what we find out is the multiverse is a cancer that must not exist. And we start seeing that there are multiple Anti-Monitors showing up.
Which I thought this was actually a pretty cool twist on making the Anti-Monitor less a conscious villain of the series as it was in the comics and as it was in the television Crisis event. Making it more of this this antibody, this answer to the multiverse. Being this universal, inescapable threat was pretty cool.
And with that, we see that we remember that the basically the towers protecting the Earths are down, and they're trying to find a way. And we get the only way is they talk about the Legion's miracle machine. And that's where it gets crazy. The Legion, Scar talks about the Legion had built the miracle machine that could do anything, and they hid it in a pocket dimension. And Martian Manhunter with what was her name? I didn't write it down. Nightshade. They're able to go and retrieve it. And while that's happening, we see that Earth 508 is destroyed, and that's the Super Friends Earth. And Solomon goes, "What'd you say, Solomon, when you saw that?"
The Super Friends?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I said, one day at the Hall of Justice. Oh no, what's this? A big giant laser beam. Oh, that's the end of their show. Like how it was in the old days.
And then we see they start talking about what they have to do with the miracle machine, and we're going to create the monoverse, the one universe,
Prime Universe.
And then we see that the next Earth that's up, Constantine tries to sacrifice himself to the miracle machine, and it doesn't work. And he's like, the one bloody time I try to do something right, and it ends up having to be something that's stronger and more immortal. Because of course Superman wants to do it, but it's Wonder Woman that sacrifices herself to make it work.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was gonna.
But then she died?
Say the next Earth that was in the wave, because I wanted to talk about that.
Yes.
Wonder Woman. The next Earth that was in the wave was
Earth 12.
Was it Earth 12?
Yep.
Okay, that was Kevin Conroy's Batman's Earth.
It's just the whole DCAU.
The whole DCAU, because I mean, you get to see Kevin Conroy's final performance,
which is it's fascinating because it's him from the animated series.
Yeah,
and on in Gotham fighting the Joker.
He's done so many versions of Batman in different universes now.
And then it pans up and we see the Watchtower from Justice League, because we see John Stewart, kiss Hawk Girl, and they're all on the Watchtower together. But yeah, his final line was, if it has to end, then I go out being Batman.
Yeah, and go out
and I was like,
this, being Batman.
And I'm like, geez, like that's his final line as the character.
Yeah, it was great. It's like heart-wrenching.
I loved it.
It gave me chills. It gave Jania chills. And
yeah,
Just saying it right now gives me
It
chills.
gives me
You know,
chills.
they put
Even
they
me.
right.
It didn't grow in the 19s.
It was great.
1990s or 80s, I forget.
He started
90s.
Batman. He started Batman in '92.
Yeah. No, the one of the things that I said, like the seeds they planted in the film, was when they first arrive at the bleed and they're searching for each other in the bleed, they find Wonder Woman frozen, and they bring her in, and it says, she's immortal, that she they doesn't even know if she can die.
Mm-hmm.
And then they bring that back around. Superman wants to give up his life. He wants to sacrifice himself for the miracle machine to work, to run. But Wonder Woman ends up giving up her immortal life. Something lot more valuable to create the monoverse, to create the new Earth.
And with that, like we have Earth 2023, wasn't it? Or was it 2003? It was 2003.
It was Earth 2003.
Which is the Teen Titans Earth.
Yes.
They're like the cartoon Teen Titans. And I wish we would have gotten more of that type of thing.
Yeah.
Of like just, even if it was like still image type stuff of like the different animated universes just being wiped out.
Yeah, the different animated universes, the different animated shows. That would have been really cool to see more of those, I really think, because they actually did such a great job with that Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans
Yeah.
Animated movie, when they did the multiverse in that way, showing
Yeah.
all those different versions going to the DC animated movie verse that we used to have. And I mean, it's really cool when they do stuff like this, because back in early Doom Patrol, Cyborg Victor at the time says there's 32 Earths when he's talking about the multiverse, and at that time there was 32 live action DC shows that had been created. There's probably more now, but when he spoke that line, there were 32 live action DC shows that were on, and that's what he was talking about. What was all those live action universes that are connected in the multiverse. So to see the animated verses in that show, in that Teen Titans Go movie, and then in this movie, just amazing. Love seeing that type of crossover.
We have this. So while they're all staying there, they've activated the miracle machine. It opens a window to an Earth, basically, and we have the Spectre that's there talking, and they all start walking through. And old Superman goes through first, and he talks about, well, at least they'll be a part of. They explain it basically. They're all going to be. It's going to be one Earth, one history, and it's going to be like an amalgam of every different version of themselves on this new Earth. And we have some hesitation from someone, but the Question flat out refuses to go. He thinks it's wrong, and he refuses to go. And the Spectre's there talking, and what do you call it? Constantine actually walks away with the Spectre. He doesn't go through it. But there's a great line that's delivered by Lois Lane when they're talking about this idea. And she says to Clark that once a time ago, an alien scientist couldn't save his whole world. So he saved basically his own son. And that was the part of the world that got to live on. It's a great little speech. But basically, everybody walks through and to the monoverse, the new one Earth. And then we kind of get like it's not like a post-credit scene, but it's something of a post-credit scene with the young Diana.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say before we get into that real quick was I liked that speech that Lois gave Clark, because he was doing the Superman thing at the moment. It's not giving up. He wanted to save everyone who is still alive and try and bring back all those who had died during this. He didn't want to give up and start over.
Yeah. He said, we'll find a way. And they're like, no, this is the way. Like, this
Yeah.
is it. And, you know, in my notes, my last thing was with everybody walking to this one new Earth and everything being reset. Is that kind of the way of giving birth to the DC universe?
Yeah, that's
Giving
what I'm
birth to the
curious about.
DC animated universe is now it's all one connected thing. We're done with multiverses. And, you know we have the, well, we believe we have this Elseworlds banner, you know, that's supposed to be a thing, but the
Yeah.
only thing we really know that's going to fall under that's going to be the Batman 2 by the time the DC universe
All right.
starts.
Supposedly the Joker Folie à Deux.
But that's still this year, though. You know what I'm saying?
It was mentioned under the the Elseworlds banner.
Right. But I'm just saying, like,
When he made that announcement last January.
but what I'm saying is that's still coming out before we technically launch the DCU. So it's like they have this Elseworlds banner, but it doesn't seem like they're really pushing anything over there.
No, I
Like,
know. I
they're
know what
trying
you're
to, it
talking
seems
about.
like,
I'm just saying those were named in this Elseworlds idea. So to see what is actually going to be there and if they're going to pursue that route or whatever, you know. Because I think he pretty much already, you know, backpedaled the idea that games would connect too, because games take way longer than movies or animation to come together.
yeah, we know
So
how many things we've been waiting on. But that was Crisis 3. I mean, there's a lot in there. Like, there's a lot going on in this movie.
a lot,
Yes.
and it was really good. And I did love the final scene on the New Earth on Themyscira with a young Diana. The immortal line, and just the idea that there is something out there. Is this going to be the kickoff of the DCU? Is it going to be animation? Is it going to be connected to what we got coming down the pipeline, whether Elseworlds or proper or Prime?
Exactly.
Like, it'd be interesting to see, you know, if they tied it together. I don't know that the direct to home video stuff is going to tie exactly into the DC universe as it is. I mean, I would love
Well,
it, honestly.
we don't even know if we're going to get any more direct to DC like video.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll find out something next week. But
Yeah.
Solomon, what's your final thoughts on Crisis?
Very epic and very crazy. What if after the tomorrow verse they start a new thing that we have this thing that Darkseid is there, and he destroys that planet, and he destroys Prime Earth, and Superman bringing back memories of the crisis of what happened, and he's like, we need to save the planet no matter what it takes. So then they make a different universe.
Man, it's very possible. So just all in all, the Tomorrowverse is made up of 11 films.
And what are
well, technically 10 films, one short, or it could be even less than that if you make Crisis into one film and Batman Long Halloween into one film. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies and one short.
Well,
that's
so first. I think the first starting off.
That's my ranking. That's my ranking. So he's looking at my ranking of the Tomorrowverse. I didn't rank all the Crisis ones yet. I just put them in there. I got to rank them. But all right,
I mean, we only got the one. Yeah, in this one, we've only got the one flashback scene. Basically, the memories of how Constantine changed the multiverse.
which isn't a flashback that tells an entire story like of a film we should have gotten. Like this was flashback used proper,
right?
But Yeah, it's dense, it's good, and I enjoyed it. So
It'll be interesting to see it all together. That'd be a tough watch, I think.
I wonder if they'll put it together as one film. Like I know they're supposed to release it like all 3 discs as one collection,
Yeah,
but
like a
I'm gonna
trilogy.
wait. I'm gonna wait and see if they release it as one film.
Like Long Halloween Deluxe Edition or The Death
Yes,
and Return of Superman.
yes. Like I have both of those too. I still haven't bought the one Dark Knight Returns.
I got that one from that book you got me for I believe it was Christmas
Yeah.
that one year.
So all right, everybody, that's gonna be us for tonight. It's late. Salmon's tired. James is tired. He's want to save
Yes,
the world
sir.
so much.
You know I'm tired.
But come back next time. We'll have some comic chat. And Laura says goodnight to all of us, dear.
Laura says good night.
So remember,